The time almost got away from me. I was looking at something on the other computer, and then I glanced over, and 7:44. That's the time that I had determined I was going to start. I just got back a short time ago from taking my grandchildren rather, to school. And I thought, I'm not going to wait to do the video. It's been a really busy morning already. I had a huge busy day yesterday. 11 hours spent doing legal documents. Anyway, that's 58 pages, by the way, of documentation. The title for this video is Can the United States of America Recover? Properly written, it would be the undercase United, capital States of America, capitalized America, a republic that was stolen by banksters in Europe and their agents in America. They made it a corporation operating a crime syndicate involved in extortion and human slavery, while still pretending to be the wonderful country with high ideals given to us by our forefathers. It's all a lie, though. The USA, along with the Zionist state of Israel, are the two primary terrorist states in the world. Of course, they buy allies as they bully those nations that refuse to play their sick game of dominate and control. They are the biggest human rights violators on the planet, breaking international laws with impunity for decades now. My question is, can we turn it around? Can America recover? I link Israel with the United States for a very specific reason. Cynthia McKinney, who was a congresswoman from Georgia, revealed that new congressmen and senators, well, she doesn't know about senators, but new congressmen anyway, were required to take an oath of allegiance to AIPAC, which is the America-Israel Political Action Committee, and basically pledge their support to Israel. And Israel is a terrorist nation under the Zionist control. Now, I'm not saying for a second that everybody that lives in Israel is a terrorist. Please do not think that I'm even implying that, or that Jews are somehow bad. What we don't understand is their accusation, which is often leveled at people that criticize Israel, is that they're anti-Semitic. Well, did you know that Palestinians are Semitic people? Did you know that a lot of the Arabs are Semitic people? This is a fact. They come from the same Abrahamic root as Israel does. It's just through another branch. It's the Ishmael branch instead of the Isaac branch. In any case, the modern state of Israel is something that was created by Zionists to create the tribulation and basically with the idea of creating world domination. And they're working hard trying to fulfill the biblical prophecy. You can look at what's going on right now with the U.S. bombing of Syria. Syria has not been a problem. And ISIS, they're supposed to be going after ISIS, but ISIS was created by the Mossad and the CIA, just as Al-Qaeda was the CIA list. The terrorist groups around the world are creations of the Zionist-controlled USA and Israel, and to a lesser extent, the European Commonwealth or the European Union. These are terrorist states allied with each other, although the alliance, the NATO alliance and the European Union alliance is breaking down and falling apart. And they're having trouble holding together some of the alliances that only, like Saudi Arabia and Qatar and certain Islamic states that are controlled by the U.S. are going along with this latest bombing attacks on Syria, which they're trying to get Assad out of power. And he's not the problem. The problem is in Washington, D.C. The problem is in Tel Aviv. The problem is in the United States and Israel. We are the ones that are violating treaties, that are violating human rights all over the world, because the game plan has been to create a world dominated by the Zionists where they could control and rule and fulfill the prophecy of 1984, which is a combat boot on every human face. Humans have no rights. What they've done in the United States, they started it actually in the 19th century. In 1871, they incorporated Washington, D.C. and in a sense then incorporated the United States of America, all capital letters. It's a corporation. That was the beginning of the downfall and the erosion of the republic, although they'd been trying to do it even back to the 18th century. They had been trying to set up central banks, and sometimes they held them for 20 years, and Andrew Jackson brought an end to it, and they hated Andrew Jackson for that. And anyway, I mean, this battle of these megalomaniacs, these psychopaths, these sociopaths, has been going on for a long time. This is satanic, it is Luciferian, it is horrendously evil. And these people have had a game plan to take over the world. And they finally, in 1913, created the Federal Reserve and the IRS and were able to economically enslave the United States, convincing our leaders that they had to borrow whatever money that they were able to use in this nation. They had to borrow from these central bankers through the Federal Reserve. And it created, as I said in the other video, the IMF, the World Bank, and all these other criminal organizations, the purpose of which was not to bring peace to earth, but to enrich the military-industrial complex and to bring the world down. Their game plan has been to bring the population down to a manageable 500 million people. Well, then they decided that they only needed to get rid of 2/3 of the population, so allowing a population of, say, 2-point-something billion people on the planet that would survive, the 1/3 that would survive the cataclysms that they're trying to bring in through war and through pestilence and by creating diseases like Ebola. All of these are man-made. HIV, man-made. All of these, the bird flu and the swine flu and all of these other things, they're man-made. And they do not want people to get better. Even in the medicines they create purposefully, they create things that will produce side effects so that people can be sick and keep needing more and more medicines. One medicine to control the symptoms of another medicine that was induced by that medicine. It's all a sick game, folks. And the United States has created basically a two-tier level of citizen. This is one of the things that I point out in the paperwork that I was working on yesterday. That basically the de jure citizen, the de jure member of the real United States, has been basically overshadowed and wedded to the corporate individual, our name. Now, this is not new information to a lot of people that have been studying this for a long time, but they've created a person, a corporate legal fiction with all capital letters on our name, which is only valid in the military and on tombstones. They've created this artificial person who we think is us when they use our name, Van Dyke. And if I respond, yes, that's me, they're going to make an assumption or a presumption that I'm talking about the creation that they made using my all-cap name. They created that with my birth certificate. And they created documentation, they put a trust, and they became the trustees. They took power of attorney. And I don't have any rights as Van Dyke, the all-cap name. I don't have any rights, but I do have rights as family name Van Dyke, Ronald Thomas, my Christian or my given name, my baptismal name, my name when I was born. That name is valid under common law, but not under the current military dictatorship that we have, the military rule that we have. And we've been under military rule, in a sense, since the Civil War. But in a more real sense, since 1933, when Roosevelt made all of the citizens of the United States property as collateral for the central bankers, so that they own us. And it became illegal for Americans to own gold, to own property, to own the vehicle that they drive around in. Everything needed to be registered with the state because the state became the owner, and everything in the state, everything in the country became property of the corporation. And that's where we lost our rights. And the only way we're going to get it back is to bring down the corporate structure somehow or another, or to be able to stand up to it with lawfully binding whatever we can produce. Documents, standing together for our rights and standing up for our rights and just saying no. It takes the inner work of recognizing how we've contributed to the injustices of the world and repenting of that and turning away from that which causes harm to others, and also becoming active in helping expose and to bring down the continuing harm that is done by the corporate states and by corporations that are banks and other multinational corporations that are committing crimes against humanity. I just realized I never lit the other candles. I totally forgot. Well, let me do it now. You know, you'll see how I normally do this. I normally do this about 2 minutes before I'm ready to start, but I didn't do it this time because I lost track of the time looking at other emails and stuff. So here it goes. Now you'll notice I have the globe here with China and Australia and Indonesia and Philippines and this part of the world showing. And then I have this little globe with North America and South America, and I don't know if you could probably see Africa. I doubt it. But I have that behind me, and that was presented by my friend Lori, who is a very big follower of Kate of Gaia, and who years ago I gave a DVD about 9/11 as I was distributing information about 9/11 on the street corner here in Melbourne, and she was one of the people that I gave the documents to, and she and I have communicated for a long time since then, and she listens to my videos, and she gave me this as a gift. I think I mentioned that in one of my other videos. It's been a month or two now that her husband cleaned out my laptop computer. That was when my computer overheated. In any case, we need to recover this, and folks, using no name is one thing, but using our name properly is a completely different thing. We need to make the distinction. If we're going to recover this fraud and recover from the fraud, we're going to have to take back our name. It's not wrong to have a name, but which name are you talking about? Are you talking about the state-created corporate citizen, which is the straw man, which is a legal fiction, whose name is all in capital letters? Or are we talking about the natural human being? I realized that I was actually a free man for 4 days. The first 4 days of my life, I was born on October 21st. On October the 25th, the papers were filed with the state of New York, where I was born. And then I became a corporate citizen, and I was a surety for the debt of the United States to the central bankers, who have no right to even create debt in the first place. No right. But anyway, that's what happened. You know, I was a free man, a sovereign, for 4 days, but I was an infant. No communication, no knowledge, and they created a contract in my name because my parents registered my birth with the state, and I became a legal citizen of the United States of America Corporation, and I didn't even know it. And all of my life, I've been committing fraud without realizing that using their property as my name enslaved me to their system, to the matrix. This is how the game is played. And one of the things that I've been doing with the paperwork, once again, I did it with the UCC1, and I've done other paperwork, most of which, all of which they've ignored to this point. But this is the strongest paperwork that I've ever seen that allows me to take back my identity, to take back my essence, my life, my property, my being from the state-controlled matrix, and to do it lawfully. And this is what I've been working on. And because of them trying to take my house, because of getting arrested and put in jail because taillights were out and I was driving on a suspended license, and then resisting arrest for questioning the cop who was commanding me to get out of my car without even any courteous communication. Because of those events, I've had to once again look for remedies. And one of the remedies that I'm going to be using in regard to the house is to file criminal complaint, or at least open a criminal investigation into PNC's bank violating a settlement in a federal bankruptcy court, because that settlement gave me the right to my home. And yet the very month that the settlement was made, they were listed as the owners of my home. I said that in a previous video. But that's fraud. They've committed fraud. Now, will the FBI or will the federal government actually do investigations? Now, I might have to go in as a plaintiff and create a criminal lawsuit against PNC Bank and the attorney's office representing them, or actually the individual. That's the individual attorney that's committing the fraud by representing them. They are committing fraud against me as a human being. They are doing harm to me. They are violating rights given to me in those first 4 days of my life as a sovereign free man. Now, they've made sovereign an enemy combatant. I'm not an enemy combatant. I'm not after anybody individually. I'm not trying to cause anybody harm. The only thing I want to harm is the lies and the system that has been created, built up on fraud and built up on violence and built up on manipulation of the people of the world, and trying to control other nations and other people all over the planet. They've tried to bring down everybody that's not in alignment with their Zionist-controlled central banking system of the IMF and of the World Bank, which is all part of the Federal Reserve System and all part of the central banks throughout Europe. But the Islamic nations have stood up. That's why they're going after Islam. Islam becomes the enemy. And yet all religions forbid the taking of usury. Jews justified it. Well, they're not allowed to take usury from other Jews, but from non-Jews they're allowed to. The Gentiles or the Goyim, they're allowed to take interest from them. But interest is never created. It is a fiction. Of course, the entire monetary system is a fiction. That's why I root for BRICS and what the Dragon family is trying to create, an alternative structure that will allow us to complete our evolution and finally grow up together as a human society and a human family that is interconnected and linked to each other, and that we will be able to stand up to this corruption and this fraud and overcome it. Can the United States recover? As the United States goes, so the world will go, because the United States is the military arm of the beast, of the Antichrist, of 666. It is the military arm. It is the bad cop that pretends to be the good cop. But all cops playing in the system are bad cops because they're committing crimes against humanity right and left. And this has to change, and by the grace of God, we're going to change it. Thank you for listening, and namaste.